Hello, welcome to another UTS Startups Confessions. Especially yourself, Sean, guest of honour, thanks for joining.
Thanks, Murray, appreciate being here.
In 10 seconds, or however long it takes, what is MarketCulture?
Yeah, MarketCulture for the past 15 years has been helping organisations build a culture in their company that focuses on the customer. So you've seen companies that have come about of recent times like Amazon. And the obsession that Jeff Bezos has around customers has allowed him to be one of the biggest organisations in the world. So our goal at MarketCulture is to go into companies and help them create that external focus rather than the internal focus and really put an emphasis on the customer and what's best for the customer.
Okay, that sounds good, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that say they can do that. Why do you do it better than other people?
Look, we around about 18 years ago, Dr. Linda Brown and Chris Brown wanted to find out truly what made companies customer-centric. And a lot of things were important. Things like digitisation, websites, products important. But the one underlying factor that was different in most organisations that were highly customer-centric, believe it or not, were the employees. And employees drive all that. And what the goal was to really create a focus on how we could measure whether or not a company's customer-centric from the employee's point of view, not from customers' point of view, but from employees' point of view. And when we measure that, was able to show the strengths and weaknesses of benchmarking them against hundreds of other organisations to say, okay, around these 8 key disciplines, which ones am I strong in, which ones am I weak in, to create realism to leadership that maybe there's things they need to focus on in order to improve. And we know that if we can retain customers in our business, we can build business performance in the future.
Okay, and he was a UTS graduate, yeah?
He was. Chris Brown went to UTS, who's the CEO of MarketCulture, and Lyndon Brown's a professor in marketing. And one of the things that Lyndon really, I think he struggled with for a long time was we'd implement a lot of marketing functions or marketing promotions in an organisation, but they just had very little effect. And they should have been more successful. And he found that inside a business, it was cultural. It was the people in the business were not on board with what was being promoted. And that kind of was frustrating because you spent all this money on it, but it failed. So over time, he was talking to back office employees and they said, well, we don't even know anything about it. What do you mean? Well, we heard something's going on, but we don't know what it does. And when our customers talk to us, we don't know anything. A customer culture is a culture that's embedded right across the business. It just doesn't reside in the front line of employees. It resides all the way back to legal, finance, accounting. Everyone in the business plays a part in delivering a great customer experience. And an example of that is, I worked with a lady in accounts and she treated people like a number. Your number, whatever, in a computer, right? And I said to her, no wonder they don't pay you. You just don't have any empathy with them. Over time, we worked with her to get to know customers and they paid on time. They saved her the hassle. And so that culture in the business started to grow around putting the customer first. And that became a very external culture and very, very successful.
Okay, so we've got a lot of startups watching this video. You used a term before, something layer.
Marzipan layer?
Marzipan layer. Could you explain that and maybe when startups might have a marzipan layer?
Look, the benefit of being a startup is you're small, right? And being small, we should know what everyone does. And we sit down and we communicate. The minute you get to about 10 people in a company, you start to lose those connections, don't you? We used to sit down, you and I, every morning, we'd have a chat. Now I've got 10 people to have a chat with. I don't have time to have a chat with 10 people. As companies grow, they get layers of management that come into them. And those layers of management become what we call the marzipan layer. You've got leadership sitting at the top. And leadership, typically, if I walked into a company today and said to you, you as a leader, do you believe your company's customer-centric? Absolutely we are. We're customer-centric. If I go down to the employees and ask them, we can't even get a decision made in this organisation. We don't even talk to each other about customers. I don't even know who a customer is. So what's believed at the top and what's believed at the bottom can be very different. And we call the layer in between the marzipan layer because what's coming up gets stuck there and what's going down gets stuck there. What we've developed at MarketCulture over the last 15 years, We developed a methodology to measure an organisation's culture around the customer called the Market Responsiveness Index. It's a survey or an assessment that's taken by the employees, and they answer a range of questions around 8 key disciplines. And those disciplines are behaviours. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you believe you can change a culture? Do you believe someone who comes to Australia from India, China, Pakistan, or America, over time their culture changes? That's a behaviour. So we can change the way people behave over time. But we've got to know where we are now. In order to change those behaviours, we measure them. And there's 8 key disciplines that we measure. And in the past, that measurement that we had was very manual, consulting orientated. So we as an organisation, MarketCulture, have been around for about 15 years. And we've consulted companies right across the world that, one, can afford consulting, but 2, we used our product with them in a very manual format, very hands-on. And many of them said to us, if we could do this automated, if this could be automated, it would be so much easier. And so around about 18 months ago during COVID, a bit of time that you can sit down and think, and a lot of training programs, workshops and things were obviously cancelled or put on hold. We sat down and said, how do we take this methodology and build it so it can be used by anyone, anywhere, anytime? And that was really our key focus. And over the last 18 months, we've been really working on that. And Murray, we're on the edge of launch. And so it's kind of an exciting period of time for us.
I was just thinking we need to get a bell for every time someone mentions COVID in these interviews, because it's a consistent theme, obviously.
Well, it's been a benefit for us. I think COVID is a game changer, right? And I said to you before, why? Because we couldn't do what we were doing. We're sitting at home, staring at walls. We're on Skype, Zoom, whatever it might be, bored, because I'm used to being in front of people and running workshops and loving life. And now I'm doing them through Zoom and sitting in a pair of board shorts, right? So it's a different world that we're in today than we were in 3 years ago.
Do you think it'd be harder when you've got clients paying hundreds of thousands for really in-depth work to wean yourself off of that, if not for COVID? Do you think that would have been too sticky?
Yeah, you've asked a great question, because it was one that sat with us for a long time. How are we going to take already successful consulting practice and turn it into software? The first thing is we had built a methodology that we could make tangible, right? So a lot of consulting is hands-on, working, sitting, talking, coaching, and all those type of things. We'd already had a methodology that could measure, but we used packages like SurveyMonkey to go out to the staff to get their feedback, and then we take it into Excel and crunch some data, and then we go and build a report, and then we go and sit with a client, go through that report, and then we run training programs. And this, of course, you've got to charge for all this. There's a lot behind the scenes, and there's a lot in front of the customer. We've worked with companies like Deutsche Telekom, we've worked with Vodafone right across the world, Telstra in Australia, NAB, Westpac. We've worked also with small organisations that just need help. But those smaller organisations didn't have the funds of the bigger companies, so those programs were cut down. And they turned to us one day and said, why can't you just automate this? And sitting with 2 guys who are ex-academic who I work with, Lyndon and Chris Browne, and great guys and very knowledgeable, trying to make them change the course of what they were doing. You know, there was a lot of talk. And then they were very acceptable to it, saying, the world's changed, we've got to change. So that's kind of where we've evolved from.
It's interesting, like SurveyMonkey and Excel have been 10 plus years around. Are there newer technologies that are making this easier to turn into a platform that you're using?
We're in the world of technology. I'm a sales rep. I'm in sales. Yeah, we don't like even CRM. Right? We don't like putting any data into anything.
No one does.
No,
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, I thought there's some people out there that love punching data in.
They like reading it.
Yeah, they loved it. So the world we're in today is amazing, guys. I can't express to you how many software packages I use today. You know, on the back end with developers, Jira, which is an Atlassian program for problem shooting and product development and things like that, where it's monitored. You know, Notion, which is an online management software I use with my interns to know where we're up to on certain things. Within our whole platform that we're about to launch, I would hesitate to say we've got 15 different plugins, APIs, webhooks, you name it. And then you get the problems with all that they crash right in the middle of something. And then you say, well, that's not going to work in the future. Redevelop again. Got to get away from that one, etc. But the technology that's out there today is you've got to look for best in class. You've got to look for providers. And, you know, today we're not here to sell UTS, but being in part of UTS, I'm able to walk through those corridors and talk to people, what did you do? And what did you do? And I was saying, a lady overheard me one day. I've gone through the ups and downs of trying to develop a software platform. I don't know if you've ever done it, but I've been told it's harder than writing a book. I haven't written a book either, but you know, it's a difficult thing because you think you're there, but you're not there. And then you turn a corner, something else breaks. And a lady sat down with me at UTS one day when I just lost the plot, and I thought, this is the end. She sat down, she said, it's just another bump in the road, keep going. And people like that, being around them, are different to people you work with because they give you realism. Right, and I've really enjoyed it, and I've picked up 2 or 3 software programs down here. One we're using heavily at the moment is Jasper, and I don't know if you've ever used Jasper, but Jasper is an online tool that uses AI to write material, headlines. It is, if you haven't used it, I seriously tell you to go out and have a look at Jasper. If you're in social media or anything, it's a phenomenal program, and again, not here to sell it, but here to make our lives easier. Because we're time poor as startups, we don't have time. So you're using that software, there's plenty out there, and a lot of them are good.
But even things like 20 years ago, I remember rolling our own commission tracking software so that we could set up commission programs for software, and you're using off the shelf, what were you using? Yeah,
look, working with Chris Browne, he's now got his PhD in customer-centric leadership. So he just did, not at UTS, but he did it at Pepperdine in the States. And if you've ever done a PhD, you know what goes into it. But Chris is very thorough in researching programs that we can use. We found a program called Rewardful. I don't know if you've used it, but Jay, who's sitting here, one of our interns, helped me with this program, set it up. So if you want to be an affiliate partner of MarketCulture or the MRI, and you're a consulting agency, and you're putting this on your website, and you give a link through to our website, you get a commission, and it's fully automated. I mean, it tracks your the IP address that comes through, it goes in, a customer signs up for X dollars, and immediately you're emailed saying, that person that clicked on your site 3 days ago has now purchased. And your commission will come within 28 days. And we don't have to do a thing, nothing. And as a sales rep, the bane of my life was commission time.
Yep.
Sitting down with people and saying, this is commission, and working out all the numbers. It does it automatically for you. So another great program.
This is why we rabbit on about technology-enabled entrepreneurship, when it can take content that's worth and being charged out at the rates that you charge out at, and can make it available to thousands of companies much more affordably. Like, that's something that wasn't possible 10 years ago in the way that it is now. So that's interesting times. I
think that's our biggest mind shift change, is we've gone from consulting, we're not a PwC or an EY or a Deloitte, which can charge us.
Who wants to be?
Well, we don't want to be either. And so we're going from this consulting model that was significant dollars to a very much smaller amount of money, but it's scalable. It's totally scalable to everyone. So people can be using it right now. We could be sitting here answering the assessment and getting a result, and then talking about the result and what can we do to improve business performance. One of the things that Linda and Chris did before my time, because I've been with MarketCulture now for 8 years, but prior to my time, they did a research study on really what were those attributes that made companies customer-centric around their behaviours. And someone said to them, does it really matter? We don't care, unless it does one thing, makes more revenue or profit. Sorry, 2 things, but they're kind of co-connected, those 2. If I can make more money, if I can build a business out of being more customer-centric today than I was yesterday, and I can make more profit and retain users, customers, then I'm better than I was yesterday. And we're able to link our study back to business performance and validate that by being stronger in our disciplines, we were actually improving those business performance. And one of the big ones for startups is innovation. And one of the ones in innovation is truly making sure you stay connected with your customers to understand what they want in the future, not what you want to give them in the future. Because we've seen many companies build products that fail. You've got to get out there, and I was just speaking to some guys in the front of you, a new design business. Talk to customers all the time. Would you use this? Is this important to you? Right? And that's really, really the heart of what we do.
And I want to get into some tips that people can take away with them at the end of this in a second.
Yep.
But I will say really quickly, Pete Davison, if you're watching, thanks for doing what I'm about to refer to. So he was looking at 900 fish burners companies from now about 10 years ago, and looking at what kind of companies succeeded based on who was still employing people on LinkedIn and the company sizes. And the most common kind of company that did succeed and still survive was someone mid-career, starting out as a consultant, usually back to the company they left, setting up a couple more consulting deals, and then turning something into a kind of B2B SaaS product eventually. And it's a really kind of relatively safe, quite rewarding way of launching those kind of companies.
Yep.
And I wish there were more people that saw that as a normal option, that are kind of mid-career, stuck in what they are, to say, yes, it can start out looking very much like consulting, and it won't necessarily look like a startup on day one, but it can turn into incredible things. But talking of incredible things,
Yep.
so you're launching the new platform when?
We are on the cusp of launching now. We've been in pilot mode now for probably, we've got 3 phases: pilot, pre-launch, and then launch. We've been in pilot mode for the last 3 months, maybe even possibly a little bit longer, where we've been really getting users to get on board, knowing that it's not right, but giving us feedback, right? And the problem is, I'm in sales, and the minute you get feedback and it's not what you want to hear, you go back to development, right? And you don't progress on. And probably one of my biggest issues personally is I've been very stubborn about perfection, right? And so probably a bit of advice is look at the big picture and don't always look at the micro picture every time, because it can frustrate you in building a startup, right? It really can. So we're about to go into what we call pre-launch phase. We have 150 users who are going to come on board using the platform with their staff or their people to do measurement, basically for $1. And why we're charging $1 is we want them to be genuine to go onto the platform. They send out our assessment, they crunch the results. Hopefully some of them can use it real in their company, and we give them enough credits to do a good scan across their employees, and then give us feedback. Our goal is to go to launch before the end of July, and total launch. So we're right at that cusp right now of where it's exciting, but there's a lot of hard work going in. So and we're really being supported exceptionally well. We've got 3 interns that are working with us from the UTS, and by utilising them, we're seeing things differently now. We're really able to tap into their skills, and the 3 of them aren't from Australia, they're from all parts of the world. And it's really interesting to hear their feedback and their view on things, and also their excitement around what we're doing. They actually spur us on, because they come and go, look what I've done for you, look at this, and I'm like, wow, it's pretty cool stuff. So there's some of the support side that you can get through being part of a startup.
Thank you very much. Checks in the mail, and also a great experience for interns, I think, as well, to join a really interesting company and learn from people that have the experience that you have. So that's what's coming up over the next month. If people search for MarketCulture, will they find a sign-up link?
You will actually find, if you go to MRI Benchmark, which is the MRI, so it's like the medical MRI. Instead of us looking inside your body, we look inside your company, strengths and weakness. So there is a correlation. And funny, we just worked with Canon Medical, and we did use the word MRI, and it came back to us saying, make sure it's market responsiveness index. We do have an MRI machine, right? And let's not confuse it between that. So it's small world, but it was a great project that we worked with them. But yeah, if you go to mribenchmark.com, our website's actually up and running. Right, so we haven't gone to launch phase, we're telling people, but you can actually register for $1. And if you contact me through the link on the site, the information or whatever, I'll do whatever it takes to help you utilise to give us feedback. We're looking right now, if someone can help us, we're looking for users that can go online and actually use it, hopefully by next week, in this pre-launch phase, and provide feedback to us that, hey, that was cool, or hey, I changed this, or I didn't understand this, or that didn't work, or that did work, whichever way it is. And that's what we're looking for now.
Okay, so I'm sure loads of people are checking that out now using the link below. We'll make sure it's in the link for the video as well, the description. And we'll start to wrap up. Based on all the companies you've seen and all the work you've done to help them engage better with customers, do you have tips or other things for all the startup founders that are watching to take away before they start using the platform?
Look, I actually did a course as well, and Chris is a member of a couple of universities, and I did a course where they talk to you about talking with customers, and my background is customers. The biggest tip I have for you is, when you see you're down or you see any, go and speak with a customer, a prospective customer. Go sit down with someone and have a cup of coffee and say, would you use this? Is this interesting to you? I think we lose sight sometimes when we get so busy in building what we've got. I think we lose sight of the big picture. And the big picture is not in this room or inside our office or in our desk or our computer. The big picture is outside. Because the one underlying factor is, if we don't have customers, we don't have a business. We can have the best product, we can have whatever we out there, but customers need to purchase it. So my tip for you is, a venture capitalist once said to us, have you spoken to 50 customers? And if you haven't, go and talk to more. And why? Because they want to know that people are going to buy the product that you're innovating, or that you're building, or that you're starting up. Your idea might be the best in the world, but it might be something no one else wants. So go and don't be scared to talk to them.
Okay, talk to customers. Fantastic advice. We'll start to wrap up there, and we'll go to a kind of private, without the camera Q&A session, and we'll get the kind of juicy parts out of that. That's why we call this Confessions. We'll try and get some real confessions out when the live stream is off. For anyone watching at home, we run these every Friday at 3:30 at UTS Startups at Central. We've got the best pizza you'll ever taste. It's genuinely the best pizza, wonderful people in the room, and there's a lovely atmosphere for anyone that wants to engage in startups. That's it for now, but a big round of applause please for Sean.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate it.